Hello there, I'm James.
And I'm Adam.
Welcome to our new little project. This is the Hopcast Half Pint. It is basically our mini version of the Sheffield Hopcast, kind of partway through the month, and we'll explain a little bit more about it and how it will normally work in a bit, because the first one is nothing like what it's actually going to end up like, but for good reason for that. So normally we're going to kind of drink 2 beers as part of this podcast. For this one, we're doing 8. We may live to regret this, Adam.
Could we call it the Wylam Wonder rather than the Cannonball Run?
The Wylam Wonder.
Yeah, I couldn't think of any other W's. Wipeout.
Give us an hour. That might be accurate. So we've got the Wylam collab series, the Northern Powerhouse series. We've got all 8 of them. We're going to, over the course of the next hour, get through all 8. I don't know what it's going to be like by the end. We are going in strength order, so we're starting with the weakest, building up to the strongest. Yeah. So let's crack up the first one first of all, and then we can chat a little bit more about what on earth this half pint idea is. So this is number 5 in the series, even though it's the weakest. It's 4.5%, and this is the collab with Magic Rock. It's a forest fruit kettle sour. We have to confess at this point, we have already tried some of these, haven't we?
Yep.
Because we were at the launch at the Hallamshire House.
I think my first comment was, this is a bit of a James beer.
I think this was the first
It's definitely the first one I tried.
All of us had, actually.
I think I attempted to do this, actually, where we went kind of low strength to high strength. There was a few we missed, I think. I don't know if you tried them all.
I definitely didn't try
I think
them.
I've got 6 in the bag. I think I missed the Thornbridge one and the Black Lodge.
I think
Lodge.
I had both of those.
Yeah, so interested to see what they'll be like.
The Hopcast Half Pint, then. The idea of it, obviously we do the main podcast at the start of the month. We want to start doing something in the middle of the month, and we wanted an excuse for us to drink a bit more beer, basically. Yeah. So it's going to be just us two, certainly to start with. That's the idea. We will normally record it in my new office when I start my new job, but I've not started it yet. So we're in my kitchen at the moment. So I start at my new job, which is kind of working full-time in podcasting. So I'm not just rocking up to work with some beers for the hell of it. There is a connection there. So I start that at the end of July. But because the opportunity came up where we thought, right, we could get a full case of the Northern Powerhouse beers and we could just smash them in an hour. And that could be kind of like, our introduction to our new mini podcast.
Yep.
In theory then, moving forward, what it'll be is we will each bring one beer. That we've got kind of a month to select which beer we're going to bring, so it's not like a competition, but it's just a chance to kind of maybe move us out of our comfort zone, try and find something a little bit special or whatever. Each bring one beer and we will share it. It will be much shorter than the main Hopcast, that's the idea, and just have a chat about what's happening in the world of beer, which is something that we maybe don't do as much of in the main podcast, because we are talking beer quite a lot. And look at kind of, the big news stories that are knocking around, what stuff's happening within Sheffield. It's a chance for any breweries or any bars that have got any events going on, they want to tell us about it. We'll chat about it on the Hopcast Half Pint. Who do we need to give credit to for that name, by the way? We're not that clever.
I mentioned to my friend at work, Dougal Mackenzie. It's a brilliant name.
Adam's already told me this. I'm not convinced that this is a real person.
It's a real person. He's a listener. Mackenzie. Dougal Mackenzie, yeah.
Wow. Well, Dougal, here's to you.
Cheers, Dougal. I'll be very pleased.
So the Magic Rock Forest Fruit Kettle Sour.
It's good.
I actually think this is a little bit nicer in can than I think it was on keg. It's just a little bit more balanced. I thought it was a little bit too salty when we had it a couple of weeks back. It's literally got forest fruits crushed in it, hasn't it? We've got some raspberries in there. You can definitely taste the blackberries in there.
Yeah, it says blackberry, blackcurrant and raspberry. Cascade hops. I think it kind of it's in the kind of same realm as like the Tullamine kind of beer, where it's slightly sour, but not exclusively sour. It's really red, kind of quite opaque as well, isn't it? It's just not got quite as much as a bite as that. I think it's lacking something. I think it might just be the strength. I'm not sure, but.
Possibly, but Tullamine wasn't a particularly strong
5, I think.
beer.
So,
5,
yeah.
so only 0.5% more.
Yeah.
But Tullamine was I think that bit sourer. It had that bit more of a kick to it, that bit more of a bite to it.
Yeah, it's nice. It's a hot day today, and this is very, very.
If I walked into a pub and there was maybe a brewery that I'd not really tried anything from or didn't know a great deal about, and they'd made this kind of sour that was made with forest fruits, and I tried it having no preconceptions at all, and it was this, I'd be really impressed. I think because we know it's Wylam, it's Magic Rock, you expect a certain level, and I think it probably achieves that, but it doesn't go over that, does it? It's not a beer that blows you away, but it's very well done.
Yeah. I think the other beer I kind of compared it to when I first drunk it, which I'm not sure I think about, but it's the Thornbridge Tart, the passion fruit and is it black blueberry, whichever it is.
Yeah,
the special one they did.
I think it is, yeah.
Same kind of colour again, but obviously it's 1.5% lower strength, and it's not got any kind of funky kind of taste or smell to it either. It's quite.
It's pleasant to drink. It's pleasant on the aftertaste. It doesn't leave a nasty taste behind. That's not a bad start, all in all.
No, it's good.
Right, number 2. I don't know if I had this the other. I might have had it when we had it.
I really enjoyed this one.
So this
to try this again.
Is well. Do you want to tell us about it?
Yeah, I think these were the first 2 I tried. So together I got 2 halves. It's 5% double dry hopped pale ale from Wylam and Hawkshead. I think Hawkshead are the guys up in the lakes, aren't they?
Yeah,
beer from the lakes. Yeah.
I don't know a lot about them. I presume I have drunk 1 or 2 of their beers before. I've seen them. I think they're one of the breweries that I just kind of don't get hugely excited about.
Yeah, you don't see much of it around, I don't think. I can remember just pouring this and it looking really like fresh orange juice, which was the case for a few of the beers actually.
It had a kind of a New England look to it.
It did, yeah, but it's kind of got that. It looks like it's got like murky because it's got orange kind of bits in it, but not bits, just kind of muddy in the colour. I think this was one of my favourites. It smells like your kind of classic.
Oh, that.
It smells really good, doesn't it?
It smells amazing.
It smells like it smells a bit cloudwatery. Let's call it cloudwatery.
It smells like what you would expect something from Cloudwater or Verdant at like 7-8% to smell like.
If you pick up any of those mid-range, the pale ale ones that you get for the Cloudwater range, they're 5.5%. It's very much similar to that. It's got a similar sort of body to it, similar sort of nice smell to it. I don't know what hops are in this actually. It's Citra and Chinook and Amarillo.
Yeah.
So yeah, can't go wrong with the C hop, can you?
Double dry hop, pale, and yeah, I mean it does. It's got so much resemblance to something that you'd expect Cloudwater to do. It packs a hell of a lot of taste into a 5% beer, and it's got that kind of really full mouthfeel that you get from those, you know, really kind of over the top expensive New England style beers that are kind of everywhere at the moment that I can't get enough of. This is probably something that I'd overlook, thinking, well, that's not going to it's not going to do the business for me, but it really does.
Makes you wonder whether they've got some kind of beers on the horizon or whether they are producing them and we just don't get them around Sheffield.
Possibly,
because they're definitely not in like the fridges. I don't see them at Beer Central at Sean's. I don't see them at Bar Stewards. Not see them at the Ale Club, and they're kind of your ones to go to if you wanted to look for a big fridge of this style beer.
Yeah. They don't seem to fall into that kind of, dare I say, kind of sexy category.
No.
I wonder whether or not I've seen some in kind of some of the, I say, smaller kind of places. I've got a wine rack just up the road, which has a decent range of beers in, and I've got a feeling I might have seen 1 or 2 in there. I might be making that up. I've certainly seen 1 or 2 somewhere, but I can't think where.
I'm wondering whether they've ever had anything but cask. Definitely have some cask stuff. I think like sort of the Bath Hotel occasionally do something by them. Kind of your pale ales, sort of your lower strength stuff. They've always been packed with flavour. But like I said, I've not had enough of them to kind of familiarise myself with their range, or whether I don't really know much about them in terms of what they do in their range, whether they're all, if they have a core range or not. But I assume they do, because they are a well-established brewery.
What we've not done really yet for anyone that's not come across the Northern Powerhouse series before is kind of explain what the heck it is, because it is basically about showcasing the best independent breweries
From the
in
north.
the north. So it's led by Wylam, who are up in Newcastle, and certainly I think one of our favourite, combined one of our favourite brewers. And they get together to kind of come up with these plans for 8 different beers, showcasing 8 different styles, and then they come out, and you wonder whether or not it's the only thing that's kind of similar to this that I can think of that's certainly kind of like a north of England thing would be the Cannonball Run.
Yeah, I think it's all done up at Wylam. I don't know if they all just pile in over a weekend and try and smash out a lot of I don't know how much kit they've got.
That'd be
there.
a fun weekend to get there, wouldn't it?
I mean, yeah, it's interesting now. It does actually just shows you how much good brewing there is in the north. All of these beers, all these breweries are just making fantastic beers.
We've each tried some of them. Are there any that you're particularly excited about?
You can't really go wrong with the Northern Monk one, can you? And I was interested by the Cloudwater one because the Cloudwater is a brown ale, and obviously they're not. It's not something they do like the Baltic ports and they do brown ales, but it's not what you think of when you think Cloudwater. So I was interested to taste that. There's a big strong Buxton, a bit like on
10.5%.
Yeah, it's just the same strength of the England
Losing
beer.
England beer in the Beer World Cup.
I think I tried that after you left on Friday when we went to taste them, but me and my friend shared a half.
Right.
Because it wasn't cheap.
No.
It was about £5 a half.
Yeah.
I know, kind of. It's not the most sort of quaffable of beers. But yeah, what else is it? I'm interested to try the other stuff that I've not really. I don't think I've tried any beers from. The Black Lodge one. I've tried them before. I've not tried anything by Box
Social.
Box Social, yeah. Really want to not say Box Fresh. I don't know why.
I think they make clothes.
Yeah.
Box Social I'm not familiar with.
But that was.
Box
I'm
Social.
looking forward to trying that again because that was probably my one of my favourites actually. First time around to see how that kind of tastes in can, I suppose. But this one's if you can get them individually, or you going out and you really got a limited amount of ones to sup, and something that's in a decent strength range, then definitely try this one. I prefer it over the Magic Rock one, even though it's not really comparable, really. But
no, they're very, very different beers. But this is, a few months ago I'd have gone the Magic Rock one every time. This has kind of overtaken sours as my kind of go-to sort of type of beer at the moment. I'm really loving kind of beery beers.
I think listeners might be pleased that we talk about sours every 5 minutes.
Someone did tell us off, didn't they? And say you talk about sours too much, and then since then I've drifted completely away from them. I don't know whether or not it was subliminal or what.
I don't know. I think just those first few episodes, I think they were just a combination of Sean picking a few beers that were sour, and us talking about some beers that come out at the same time. I think it was just a bit of a sour few months. I think
a sour few months.
Yeah, in a good way.
Mm. And there's still plenty of good sours knocking about, but it's definitely been the year of the kind of the New England IPA, hasn't it? And somewhat out of the blue, because both of us kind of, you particularly said at the start of the year you're not really a fan of it, and I was like, I'm not overly fussed, take it or leave it really, and yet I've become really obsessed to the point of like just a kind of an addiction. Anything that particularly Verdant release, I've just got to get hold of because I just love them. They're just ticking every box.
Yeah, I think to kind of like, we talked about in podcast with Sean. I mean, Sean quite always liked your West Coast style, much kind of crisper and see through and I don't know, hoppier, like hop forward. And I think I do this like years and years. I'll burn out on a style. I really like when I first started into like cask ale. It was always getting them like the hoppiest pale beers you could get. And they were like the kind of session strength stuff when people weren't doing the crazy stuff. So like beers that you wouldn't probably even consider that hoppy anymore were tasted face meltingly hoppy. Well, a lot of people say it tasted like drinking that for it tastes like washing up liquid. The amount of people who say that hoppy beers taste like washing up liquid who don't drink ale is
it's odd
mad.
It is odd that.
But I get that. If you do get a bit in your mouth, you get like really kind of bitter taste that lingers, and you get that in turn. But yeah, I think because I burn out on flavours sometimes, I think I've done that with those, like your kind of Cannonball, Halcyon, that kind of style. If you're going for something a bit more local, but yeah, I think the New England ones now I've kind of found the ones I like, and I think they feel that they're just a bit easy to drink, and I think with the weather improving, and it's just nice to quaff. It's not nice on your pocket.
It's nice to quaff.
Quaff.
They're certainly not the cheapest of beers.
No,
I
no.
don't think cheap beer exists anymore, does it? If you want to drink something that's good, it just doesn't exist anymore. We have in the meantime we've cracked open beer number 3.
Yeah, it's the one I've not had.
Which is, I had this on the launch night. In fact, I think it was the first one that I had because we were at the Hallamshire house. It kind of felt right to have the Thornbridge collab when we were there. I do have one little whinge from that launch evening, which is, I mean, the beers were expensive, and I kind of understand that. I get that, keg beer is expensive. That's something I've got used to. £5 for a half a beer doesn't particularly surprise me anymore. But I'd like the option to have it in a third. And it was a bit disappointing when the beers were, some of them particularly strong, obviously quite pricey. If you went with the intention of, I'd like to try all 8, it's going to set you back the best part of £40.
Yeah.
Now, the case of, and these are 4 40ml cans, the case of them cost $35.
And that wasn't the cheap. That was probably the cheapest you could get them anyway. I saw, some more retailers. I don't know whether they got it as a deal because it's part of the brewery and they got them cheaper, but I've seen it 45, 40 plus £5 delivery.
35 was certainly cheap, and fair play. I thought that price wise was quite fair.
Yeah, it's not bad.
But paying effectively, the best part of 40 quid to drink effectively what would be 4 pints is. I mean, that's a lot, and that's difficult to kind of, even as a real beer enthusiast who will, I'll go out knowing I'm going to spend some money on beer tonight because I want to try some good stuff. To spend 40 quid and just drink 4 pints, I don't know about that.
I think, I left a little bit later than you. I think I had 1 or 2. I think I had 6, tried 6 of them, including one which was a shared half. I think I had another half in there, and as you know, my wife pops up and I bought a round for that. And I'd spent 50 quid, and I'd left. This were after work, so we got there at 5:30. I was gone before 9, and I'd spent 50 quid in there, and I'd essentially had 3 pints, if that.
It's mad, isn't it? It's absolutely, it's insane, and it's not. I mean, this is nothing personal against Hallamshire House.
No.
I think generally Thornbridge pubs don't tend to sell stuff in thirds unless there's like a special event or a meet the brewer thing going on. But there's a lot of other pubs as well, and I have taken it up with 1 or 2, and. One of the things that I tend to kind of hear back from pubs is that it particularly some of the smaller places don't necessarily have enough space for the glasses that you need to be able to offer things in a third or in 2/3, which I sort of understand, but I kind of think, well, all you need is probably about 5 1/3 measure glasses, because you then just pour it into that, and then transfer it into a half pint glass, or if it's 2/3, you do that twice into a pint glass. I don't think it's that difficult.
No, these pubs have 2-minute dishwashers as well. You know what I mean? Like, if it's that much of a problem, maybe the other side of it is the pubs that do it, which there's another couple, and I know I've been with people who were like, they do thirds. I wish I'd have known that. And like, they're 2 of my favourite pubs. That's Shakespeare. They'll do a 1/3 of any of the keg stuff, whatever strength. And I know that Rutland do thirds as well. But maybe it's not a publicised enough thing, and maybe when you're selling a lot of strong beers, maybe you have a little bit of a onus on you to actually maybe advertise it a little bit better, maybe.
Possibly, and maybe it's something that is a little bit underplayed. I've got a couple of mates that would never go in a pub and order anything other than a pint, and even if they're ordering something that was a 10% beer and a pint of it was like 10 quid, they would rather take the hit in their pocket than anyone see them drink anything other than a pint.
Exactly.
Which is silly. And I mean, is the other side that, maybe it's kind of like a reserved for beer enthusiasts only. So if you advertise, you could buy this in a third, then maybe people will do. Whereas the kind of wait for people to ask, I don't know. I don't know. I don't see any downside to it, because if I'm going to go in a pub and drink a third of a pint of something, I'm not then going to leave. I'm going to drink a third of something else, and a third of something else, and a third of something else.
And get stuck there and drunker and drink a third of something else.
Yeah,
and a third of
absolutely.
Something else.
And my intention would be to try pretty much everything on the bar and have a third of it. If they only sell it in a half, I'll stay in there for as long, but I won't try as many beers while I'm there. I'll probably spend the same amount of money, so I don't think I necessarily see a downside to it. Offering beer drinkers, not just beer drinkers, offering all drinkers more choice can't be a bad thing. There can't be a downside to offering people more choice.
No. I mean, like I said, maybe there's if you said the glass half full, glass half empty thing with that, where maybe someone might not go and try that beer because they can't get in a third. You know, there's swings and roundabouts, isn't it, really? Like,
for someone
there's
else.
a lot of beer tickers out there who, you know, like I said, are just trying to get through them all, and if they don't want to, if they've got a lot to tick off and you're only doing halves, they'll find someone who does thirds, possibly.
I've just realised we've not talked a great deal about this beer. So this is the Wylam and Thornbridge collab. It's 5.5% American wheat with jasmine flowers and orange peel. Now, this was the first one that I had. I struggled at the start to get any orange peel. It came through a little bit later on. I struggled to really taste it as a wheat beer as well.
Yeah, it doesn't really taste very wheaty.
No, it doesn't look very wheaty either. It's a lot more clear than I would expect from a wheat beer.
It's very yellow, isn't it? But it does have a slight.
Yeah.
I'm getting the orange peel. I'm not getting the jasmine, and for me, that's a good thing.
Right.
Like, what's the other beer they do, which is a bit fussy? I think that's got jasmine, like a jasmine pale ale or something. About 6%, the Thornbridge one. It's a seasonal one. Is it Pooja or something like that?
I don't think I tried.
Yeah, it's one of them. But
Pooja. I think anything's got the word poo in it. It's probably not a good thing.
PU, it's alright. But it's got Chinook and Centennial. I like it actually. I think I might have had a sip of yours, but not enough. Maybe the other stuff overpowered it a bit because it's quite delicate, I suppose. If it's not.
Yeah, I think you're right in terms of the fact you don't get the jasmine taste, but I don't think it's there for you to taste. I think what the jasmine does is it adds that delicate kind of feel.
Maybe it does, yeah, which is a good thing.
Because I think the beer that we've just had that was a 5% beer, but didn't. In fact, the two that we've had, I don't think taste particularly kind of boozy or anything. I think this has got a little bit more of a hit to it.
Yeah.
And therefore the jasmine probably just takes the edge off that a little. Yeah. My guess would be this would. To taste it, if I didn't know, I'd probably say this is a little bit more than 5.5%.
I'm thinking it's probably about right for me, but I'm wondering whether it's less hoppy and it's more the orange peel that's giving it bitterness, and that's what that's what that mouth kind of taste, that mouthfeel is. That that kind of taste to it.
It's not an obvious bitter taste.
No, but I think maybe American wheat isn't a hoppy beer, but the orange peel might give it that kind of impression of a hoppiness to it.
And we are kind of drinking these in kind of fast forward mode, aren't we? Where we're literally when one's finished, we're not even motoring, there's no kind of quick kind of glass of water break or anything. We're literally on to the next one, and I think that was as we're going to get a lot more later on, that was a kind of a knee-jerk change there from kind of like a New Englandish kind of double dry hop pale to a wheat with orange peel and jasmine flowers.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised. I'm pleasantly surprised at that because I was thinking I didn't avoid it for any reason at all. I think maybe just on paper, if I knew I weren't going to get through them all, an American wheat probably isn't top of my list for something to try.
It doesn't sound. Actually, I did. When I saw it, I thought, actually, I'll try that. It sounds quite good. Anything that's got some kind of fruit in it, I'll probably give it a go.
Yeah.
And I do, less so nowadays. I've always quite enjoyed wheat beers. I can't remember what the name of the brewery is. It's the brewery, Scandinavian brewery, begins with B. It's got a J in it.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, you mean.
Brewery.
I never know what that said.
They did a collab with Thornbridge back in the old
good,
500ml days, which was a wheat beer, and it was an incredibly hoppy wheat beer, beautiful.
Yeah, I remember that. What was it called?
Really good. I think it was just named after the brewery. I think it was just called Brewery.
I'm not going to look it up if anybody does the name.
That was absolutely great, and I remember having a couple of bottles of that, and this is quite early on in my kind of beer journey, and I didn't realise that kind of like collab stuffs are generally sort of like here and then gone.
Yeah.
And I thought if you find a beer, then it'll just be there forever.
Forever.
And it was the same with
imagine the shelves if
Twin Peaks as well.
Yeah, well, Twin Peaks did make a resurgence.
Oh, did it?
Yeah,
I
it
don't
did.
think
I think
was
about a year or
the
so
first one.
later, but
All
for anybody who's never had that, that was Thornbridge and Sierra Nevada,
Yes.
and that was
Excellent beer.
excellently sessionable beer, 5%, kind of that perfect kind of. It felt almost like a hybrid. It felt
Yeah.
like a lager pale ale thing, but it was just. If you imagine what the Sierra Nevada pale ale is like, and just wind it back a little bit to make it just really, really sessionable at 5%. Bang on that.
It was top
Absolutely
notch.
bang on.
That was kind of in the early days before
Big-
collabs became like the norm, and it was quite early days in terms of the kind of the craft side of beer. As
Yeah,
well, wasn't it?
absolutely,
And,
yeah,
and
yeah.
they were amazing beers, and I just assumed they'd be around all the time. And
Yeah.
then next time I went in, they weren't there, and then next time I went in, they weren't there, and I said, "Oh, you're getting such and such back," and he's like, "No, it's done."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "What?" I'd have bought like 20 bottles of that.
That's a blast from the past because that's a good few years ago. And like my little tip for getting Thornbridge beers if you're in Sheffield is Beaches of Walkley on the South Road. It's a butcher's kind of farm shop thing, and they used to sell all the Thornbridge bottles. They'd even get like the specials in when it were 500ml bottles, and you were pretty much paying cheaper than you get it in a Thornbridge. But
Okay.
you were looking at, I reckon, a bottle of that was £2.40. Big bottles, 500ml.
This is an interesting conversation. This isn't it, like sort of secret beer shops.
Yeah.
Because if there's something that comes out that I know everyone's going to kind of snap up, a place that I'll always try for stuff is Turner's on Abbeydale Road, which is actually it's easy walking distance from Hop Hideout, but it's just a little more understated.
Yeah.
And they will tend to maybe not be on stuff quite as early as, say, Beer Central or Hop Hideout, but once they've kind of run out of everything and it's gone, it's been snapped up, you've got a good chance of finding stuff there.
I've been there a few times. It's the wrong side of. It's more your side of town than my side of town. But I have driven there. I've made it like early evening special journeys there because they also do the what's it called? They do the growler fills, so they'll have like a range of maybe 4 or 5 on there, which are fairly reasonable price. But I always find that when I go in there, I feel like they do have a slightly different range to its competition. Yeah. Obviously, you have your classic ones and your ones that everyone gets in. But it's sometimes, and I don't think they're very well priced at all. I can't tell you the guy who runs it, but he's a very nice chap as well. I spoke to a few times. But yeah, it's hard to spot. And a number of times I've driven, I mean, like driving, thinking, right, it's on here, and I'm going, right, I've run out of shops now. Yeah. I'd have had to turn around at Abbeydale Picture House and drive back. It's quite understated, that kind of battleship grey, very understated front to it,
You've actually got a good little beer run there because you've also got, and I can never remember what it's called, but slightly further up, it might be called Pickles, the Yorkshire shop. Now that's a place that only sells kind of the core range beers, but they do sell stuff from the breweries like, I assume they've got some Thornbridge in there, definitely Magic Rock they sell there.
Oh, right,
and kind of, the bigger breweries. They don't obviously get the more limited edition stuff there, they don't get much of the collab stuff there, and there's nothing there that you'll see that will particularly surprise you. But it's super cheap. It's really well priced. Yeah. So you can kind of do a bit of a beer run there, whereby you stock beers, 1 or 2 for the fridge from I'm going to call it Pickles. I think that's what it's called.
It is Pickles. Yeah.
Cool.
Mr. Pickles.
Hop Hideout for kind of your rarer stuff. And then you've got Turner's that literally sits in the middle, location-wise, and literally sits in the middle in terms of the fact that you'll get some of the newer stuff there, but you've got some backup stuff as well.
Absolutely, yeah. I think there's a girl called Claire who does the Feast and Glory on Twitter. She likes a beer and things, and I think she's in the past done a couple of beer crawls on the Sheffield Beer Week. And I think she works there, or has worked there, because
okay.
So maybe she's got an influence on what they stock, which wouldn't surprise me at all.
Okay.
There you go, you got a plug for you, Claire.
We are about to break into beer number 4. How are you feeling?
Not as scared as I was before. I was a little bit worried.
But is that the beer?
No, I don't know. Well, I said we only had 3, but
So number 4, this is going to be another pretty big change in style. Because this is the Cloud Water, So remember doing these in order of strength. So halfway through. In fact, we're not even halfway through. This is beer
We've
number
got to
4.
6.
This is 6.3%. So this is obviously Wylam and Cloudwater, and it is strong brown ale. I'm thinking Nuki Brown at this point.
No.
This is what I'm expecting.
It's quite. I think it was quite nutty, if I remember.
I didn't have this one on launch night, so I don't really know.
I'm trying to see if I remember, but
what to
I think
expect from this.
I remember drinking it and thinking it was a similar kind of taste to like the Nutty Ambassador thing, in a completely different sort of style, but you get that kind of nuttiness to it.
Okay. The first thing to point out is
it smells.
It is
that way.
very, very dark. It's not quite stout porter dark.
It looks a
And
bit
it's
like Coca-Cola.
got those. You can see the bubbles in it. You can see.
It's a bit like Coca-Cola.
It is a bit like
But a bit
Coca-Cola,
like
actually.
someone's dropped. There's some. If you hold it to the light, it's a little bit murky. But if you sat down at a table, you could tell someone that were Coca-Cola.
Very coffee aroma from
So
it.
I get nutty from it, but
No,
well,
I
like
get
kind of
coffee from it.
milky, nutty kind of felt it.
So even just from the smell, the description is strong brown ale, and from that I would just expect quite bland, a little bit old-fashioned, probably something that I won't enjoy. The smell, completely different.
It feels a bit treacly, actually. Just make my throat make a weird gargling noise, anyway.
It is a very different taste to anything that we've drunk so far.
Oh yeah, well yeah, it's completely different. It's not an easy drink, is it? Like you wouldn't want a pint of that. I don't think it's. I mean, it's an easy drink, but it's not an easy long drink. Is it?
When we do anything like doing something like the Cannonball Run, they're kind of 3/4 beers of a similar sort of style. We're jumping styles a lot,
Yeah.
and that's going to do weird things to your taste buds. This for me has much less taste than anything that we've had so far. It's I get a little bit of coffee. I get what you're saying about the treacle. The nut stuff maybe less so, but it actually tastes a bit thin to me. It tastes a bit anything. It's
Yeah, but you got to it as a brown ale and not a. It's not a stout or a porter, so you're not going to get that sort of creamy thickness to it.
it's not. There's nothing bad about it. In fact, if
it's neither of
you
us
know,
styles,
if
is
this
it?
was, if I just rocked up to my mate's house and he said, "Do you want one of these?" and it was the only beer that I drank, I'd enjoy it.
Oh yeah.
There's nothing. It's not bad. It's not particularly exciting. I would be, if someone gave it to me and said, "Try this," and then at the end said, "Oh, it's a Thornbridge beer," I'd be like, "Oh, really?" I think it's disappointing. Not Thornbridge, Cloudwater.
You could still say
4
that.
beers in, I'm getting all the breweries mixed up. And someone said it's a Cloudwater beer, I'd probably be a little bit surprised.
Have you had any Cloudwater brown ales or like
No.
Baltic porters?
No, I've got to be honest, I do avoid them because
Yeah.
it's a style. Porters and stouts generally I've kind of drifted away from quite a bit, but do still every so often enjoy one when I have it. But they're not kind of go-to for me at all at the moment. Like way out of it, and have been for a while, to be fair.
Yeah.
So no. It's difficult for me to kind of really kind of rank this because it is so far away from kind of what I would kind of drink day to day.
Hops, Williamette. Not really familiar with Williamette as a hop.
No, never. How Williamette?
Yeah,
As
just
in, let me read that. Williamette. Yeah.
like Bernadette, but Williamette.
It's kind of like when you're a kid and you very childishly try and like femalize
Femalise the name,
someone's name. It's William, so it's Williamette.
Someone's gonna text in. What am I thinking? We got a text number. Tweet us and go, yeah, Williamette is a name. You dickheads. Probably is, isn't it? Bernadette it is. Yeah, I don't know. Do you think? Obviously, like they do their other ones that are kegs, so they don't do them in cask or anything. Do you think it helps or hinders having a cold brown slightly fizzy ale? Would you prefer it? Would you prefer something that's like that on cask? Do you think maybe? Do you think it's confusing being cold and fizzy?
I don't know. It's. I mean, we are, as we record this, it's a super hot day. It's kind of. If you offer me it on cask right now, I wouldn't be interested.
Oh, no.
Generally, maybe
In the winter.
Yeah, possibly. It isn't a bad beer. It's really not a bad beer. In fact, the more I drink it, and I think the more that I'm clearing the taste of the previous beers out of my system, the more I'm kind of coming around to it.
Does it taste 6.3?
No, I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either.
But isn't that a huge thing with beer now? Just not carrying its
masking its
percentage
strength.
at all. And we both talked about, or I particularly talked about Pineapple Halcyon.
Yeah.
As a beer that did show its percentage, which is in no way a bad thing. People. No. There are a lot of people that enjoy boozy tasting beers, and if you drink it something that's quite strong, some people like the fact that it gives you a right old kick back. I think I've become so used to beers that really try and hide their percentage, and it's there to add the mouthfeel and the texture to it. That I think when I drink something that does show its alcohol ABV level, it surprises me a bit.
Yeah, I think maybe one of the reasons I've gone off, you kind of, like I said, your classic double IPAs, which sometimes you just really struggle with them. You're like, Human Cannonball I find is generally quite a difficult beer to get through. I like it, and I've drunk it since it came out, and they've done small bottle releases of it a long time ago. It's the first time I've had it in the can version. I think no, it's the first time they've done it in the can, but this year it felt like 9.2%. And I think a beer I've not had for a long time, which you used to be able to get, which was the Brewdog Hardcore IPA, which is 9.2, which they also did as a Tesco branded double American IPA, which they claimed was a different recipe, but it was a double IPA. It was sold to Tesco. It was 9.2%. It tasted exactly the same. It was just a cheaper way of getting hardcore IPA. Yeah. I think hardcore IPA is now called Mr. President.
It could be, yeah.
So again, the new beer, is it? Nah, probably rebrand.
Even that I've not seen for a while. I wonder whether that's sort of.
Yeah, but it's a beer that you could have one if you're just having a kind of a one beer nightcap, or you can get sat down until 10 o'clock and you thought, I want a beer, but I'm going to bed at 11. Then yeah, but to be out and someone said, George, you want a half of something like that, I'd be backing off. But maybe I won't back off a Cloudwater or something at that strength.
Possibly. It's still going to have the same effect on you.
It is, but it's all psychological.
We're kind of halfway through now. What's your pick so far? What are you most enjoying?
I think the Hawks are just only because I've been quite surprised by the Thornbridge one actually.
Yeah.
So Hawks are definitely the best one. I know for you modern and crafty hipster fan, that's probably the one that's closest to the big boys.
I'd agree. Although my second favourite would be the Northern Monk, because I thought that's a good example of that style of beer.
Northern Monk.
No, Magic Rock.
Magic Rock, yeah. Northern Monks to come.
I am getting into territory where I will get every brewery wrong from now on.
It's alright, I'll
just keep correcting me. It'll all be fine. We'll not get sued. It'll be fine.
Because we've already drunk them, though. I'm sometimes thinking, it's just referring to from when we drunk it, when we had it large.
No, I do get Magic Rock and Northern Monk confused sometimes. I don't know why.
Because the Northern Monk one isn't surprising.
Which weirdly are the two weaker beers.
Yeah.
But I do think they're the two that have been the best of their style. We've opened beer number 5,
which is on topic.
While we've been chatting, which is actually the Northern Monk one of these.
Oh, that smells good.
Which I think I had.
You did
on launch night, because it's very me. So this is it's an IPA. It is, to kind of hold it up, look at the colour of it. It's not even orange juice. It's paler than that. It's kind of grapefruit juice, isn't it? Yeah,
I think it's the way if you look down at it, it kind of looks like there might be like when you get with juicy bits.
Yeah.
Kind of there's something that happens with the carbonation on it that kind of sits quite unusual on it. I think this looked quite like the Hawkshead one. It's very.
It's a very very
breakfasty, juicy kind of looking thing.
It's very similar on the nose. The smell is very similar. So it's IPA with Citra, Mosaic, Vic Secret and Galaxy.
Yeah.
And it's 7.2%. And this is beer number 5, so we've still got 3 more to go after this.
Oh, that's great, that. I think my only criticism, I think it's a little bit too bitter on the finish. Just a little bit.
Oh, superb.
You know, like when it goes down, it feels quite sweet and juicy, but when you swallowed it, it's quite... It's not got a burn to it, but it's quite...
I know what you mean. I get it.
It's
I get it on
bitterness.
the swallow.
Yeah.
The aftertaste is all right for me. I don't mind that. Yeah, it's very. It reminds me a little bit actually of probably the Neo-Human. It's got a very similar thing going on to it.
You're right actually. Yeah, that had that similar kind of finish to it. It's very classic of some of the stuff that they're doing, patron projecty stuff. Anyway,
I think that's excellent. I think that's really good.
It's got all the good hops in it. I know.
I don't know whether I'd be tempted to rate the Hawkshead above it purely on percentage basis.
I think I prefer it still. I think I prefer the Hawkshead actually.
Yeah, but this is very good. And actually, 7.2. I mean, this could easily be an 8-9% beer.
Yeah, it does taste strong.
Yeah,
that finish taste.
It's got a powerful taste to it. While we were chatting there about you mentioned the can design for that Magic Rock micro IPA, which led me on to a train of thought about a couple of things. So, this is kind of beer news from the last 2, 3, 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So, we'll do these in reverse order of kind of significance, if you like.
Right.
But for me, probably in order of my own personal interest.
Fair enough.
So the Magic Rock cans have all been redesigned.
Yeah.
We've not actually seen them in real life yet.
I know.
But we've seen them on very well taken studio photographs. Yeah. I like them. I'm quite a big fan because I like the cans that they do for their limited releases.
Yeah, it was something we talked about as well, wasn't it?
You're not so much of a fan?
It's not that I'm not a fan with it. For anybody who don't know, I followed Magic Rock really early on from when Stu used to be a brewer at Hillsborough Hotel in the Crown Brewery thing. Yeah. So I basically saw it. I was there when he left, not there personally, like seeing him off, but I was around when he left and then created Magic Rock with Rich, who was, I think he was doing the My Brewery Tap, kind of, which was an online beer sort of shop. But when they launched, and they had this like really striking brand, they had the core range, which was the launch ones was Highwire, Rapture, and which I think they've actually decided they're dropping as core range, and Cannonball. Bottled, they weren't really, as far as I'm aware, they weren't really released into shops. You get them from them, and then so I bought a case of them, like 12 bottles for £35. It seemed crazy to me that I'd get that, but. Brilliant beers. They always mentioned that they were never quite happy with it and with the process and stuff, but I thought they were absolutely banging. And I just loved how iconic that sort of design was, and I still do. And they've just run through that kind of theme of this circusy thing, and all the names have kind of been based on circus-based things, with a few exceptions. And they've tweaked it, and I didn't think it was a positive tweak. It kept that kind of theme. It went a bit more monstery than circusy. Mm-hmm. And then they started introducing this kind of swirly, circly thing, which is fine. And I know they've done it because they've said in the pub thing, it says, you know, we were once this kind of brewery which was, you know, nothing was out there that was as striking as us. We had this kind of, but then everyone's up the game. Obviously, you've got Beavertown, which have got very, very strong can designs, and everybody else essentially. There's loads in there. And it was basically time to, you know, rebrand, I suppose. And we've seen all these, you know, these ones with this sort of squirrely, circly designs, and then they've decided to move their core range across to it. And my problem is because there's 3 or 4 colours in each one, and the other ones were basically they had a core colour, like what colours Highwire? Blue. What colours Cannonball? Green. Now I just find them really indistinguishable.
But is that like the end of the world?
It's not, but like, you know, some
You
of the
think
vendors'
about
decisions.
how many breweries have really distinct. You've got probably Brewdog that have stuff in specific coloured cans, but beyond that, I mean, think about the stuff the Abbeydale stuff that they put out, which all has pretty much the same design. But I still don't kind of get home and think, oh, I've bought the wrong one. Silly me.
No, but I have done it with Cloudwater a couple of times.
Okay, yeah, all right.
I've done, and Sean, I'll tell you, I've been in a couple of times where stuff's been stickered up wrong because they look like virtually identical. But theirs is a kind of different kind of design. It's very minimalistic, and these Northern Powerhouse ones are a little bit Magic Rocky, but it's very like geometric.
They're also very similar as well.
Exactly. Well, some of them are almost the same blooming few colours.
Yeah,
but like I said, I think, and I said it to a couple of people. I said, like, I just think they look nice and they will look great, and it'll work fine. I just think they're a little bit harder to kind of scan, I think. But it's nice to see a couple of new entries to the core range, Sorcery, which is like a session. So they're kind of 3-point-something% one.
Yep.
And they're all matching the kind of Phantasma can, the kind of black can, isn't it, as well? Rather than a silver can, it's like a black can. So the Drop Rapture from the core range, I believe, because they were saying that red ales are not really a sought after style anymore. Yep. And I don't believe that there's a few other ones at our core which haven't been rebranded. There is a rebrand for it, but I think because of the amount, I think it might be the amount of stock we've got in circulation. I think that includes Dark Arts, which is their 6% surreal stout, it's called. But the other thing is, like, does that now mean that all their kind of circusy stuff on all their branding and kind of like their vans, their like clothing and stuff, I imagine the tap room started to go because there's no connection to it anymore.
Well, as we sit here now, we're drinking out of the Magic Rock Phantasma glasses.
Yeah.
Someone did ask a question when they tweeted about their rebrand, saying, "Does that mean that you'll be getting all new glassware in?" And all they said was, "Watch this space," which I kind of read that as being yes. They will be rebranding all that stuff, because for me, they kind of their glassware is as desirable as their cans. I think they're incredibly good at doing glassware. Magic Rock, much better than probably any other brewery, really. To the point whereby I would go to Huddersfield specifically to buy the glass. Well, just to swipe one. Buy a couple of beers and then I'll swipe.
Like £20 train journey. Spend 4 hours just to get a glass.
I think that's fine. But it's interesting, isn't it? Because it could be kind of a bigger rebrand than that. But then when you think about their real core branding, like their actual logo, there's nothing in that, is there? It's kind of like I assume it's like, is it like a gate kind of image?
Well, it's not even that, but if you look at any of those cans,
it's the building, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of like, I think it kind of mimics the industrial sort of Huddersfield thing. They do have a weird little kind of droplet which sits underneath it, which I have seen them on occasion, them tweeting people who have tweeted pictures saying, you've just nipped our little sort of thing off the logo completely, and I've been thinking, well, as a designer, it kind of does fit. It sits a bit. It's a bit as a designer, it's a bit of a pain in the arse to kind of sort of work around. But what am I going to say now? Come back to it. If it'll come back to me, if I think about it.
It could even be. Is this step one in a kind of an overall Magic Rock rebrand? Do you think?
Yeah.
Could that? Because you're right. I mean, as I look at it now.
Well, we can find it on the can actually. It's there, isn't it?
The elements of that logo are fine, but the whole thing together, like that droplet thing, you're right, is just weird.
It's a pain in the ass.
It's a total waste. The logo we're looking at is a circular one, and actually it fits all right there. But if you try and square that off, you've got no chance.
Yeah. There's worse examples, but it doesn't help anybody. I remember what I'm going to say now. If you look at any can from that design, and I'm going to take a risk here, but it's definitely on the Phantasma one. The logo is absolutely minute, and it's actually only on the little bit which gives you all the information. Okay. So as a brand, they're very, very confident that that people recognise that brand,
which is probably fair actually.
And it drives
people probably do.
It does. I mean, I've been working in graphic design for 10 years or something, and people do really like to put their logos up centre and centre, and not realise that actually people don't actually give a shit about that bit. It's the other stuff. People will find your logo if you look at a big billboard. It's not like a 7-8 metre logo with a little messaging corner. It's a big message, and people know how to read branding. They kind of go, look, the bottom right, and they'll see a logo, and there's split every can. You'll read it, you'll go, oh, cool, Session IPA, that was really nice. You'll spin it, and there'll be a little logo. But it's brave for them to do that. I mean, they're not very prominent on these cans, are they? Really, they're probably small, about as big as a 5p piece. Probably cover that with a 5p.
It's probably a little bit small. It's maybe a little bit bigger than that. 5p. No, it's spot on actually. 5p is probably slightly bigger.
Bang on. But yeah, like think how big a 440 can is, and the logo's will hide under a 5p piece. It's interesting. They are good cans. I work with another guy who doesn't drink, and he absolutely loves beer can design. He sees stuff I do, and he's just like, oh, I just love that kind of stuff. And to someone who doesn't really actually have anything to do with beer, to get that kind of quite excited about it.
I think I've said before on the main podcast about how I am an absolute sucker for a good can design. Can probably better more than bottle.
Well, you get your full.
But thing, I think when they're done well, I would if I'm torn between two beers, I will absolutely be swayed by which one's got the better design.
Just think about what's quite popular in a minute that you might notice when you go to places like Bar Stewards. There's people drinking a thing, peeling that label off, and now they're making a wall of basically can labels.
Yeah.
And that you won't put that on a wall. If all beer cans look like shit, you won't want wallpaper, would you?
No.
But people are peeling them off and plastering walls with that.
I was in there at the weekend, and it reminded me of like when you were a kid, you used to get the Beano, and you'd actually instead of wallpaper, you'd just
sheets of that,
the Beano and Dandy and stuff like that, and that was like a thing. And the wall there, and it doesn't need to be in any particular order. Like you'll have two of the same labels quite close together and stuff, but each one you kind of look at it and think, oh, that's a great design. That's a really good label.
I think Sean's actually got at his shop. I think I saw some on Twitter that he'd received the artwork, which was for one of the Northern Monk cans, which one of the ones I've not actually tasted, which is one of the artists that must be from what the Patron project one is about.
Yeah, but, I can't remember what it's called.
It's like
I want to call it like
face,
Infinity something or other. I can't remember. Which is I think in a lot of circles would tell you that that's been probably the best beer of this year so far. I've not had. And it was excellent. It was excellent, really good. Which kind of nice little circle brings us back to the Northern Monk 7.2 was this?
Yep, I think so.
IPA, which I've really enjoyed.
Yeah, it's
I've enjoyed it all the way through. Consistently good beer, really nice.
I wouldn't. Kind of feels like Northern Monk could have some of that. It's done it a while ago, isn't it? You kind of think they'd release that in some other form, because you do get a lot of Northern Monk beers around. I don't know if there's a really limited amount of kegs, or whether that is it, whether the launch kegs are done. I don't no idea. Possibly. It wasn't really like kind of communicated as such, but sometimes these things just crop up, don't they? And you'll just see a keg of it just appear somewhere randomly. But so far, being a bit stereotypical, but the two kind of murky ones are the better ones, aren't
we
they?
are playing to every beer stereotype.
And to be honest, the next one is similar, and I think I liked it more.
Well, grow it out.
Well, maybe not. Actually, I don't know which way around it is. Oh no, sorry, it's the one after that.
So this is. I think I've already tried this one. So this is the Black Lodge collab.
Yeah, so they've mixed fermentation one.
And this is I remember buying this actually because it was the one where you kind of look at the description and it's a mixed fermentation farmhouse with apricot, peach, and mango. And I kind of thought I'm not even sure what colour this is going to be before I buy it. Like
it's kind of saison-y
fermentation,
like a
farmhouse.
funky.
Like it could be anything.
I've seen that term used a lot more recently, mixed fermentation. I think a lot of people might have called them like. I think Jim Aberdale, I think their kind of thing that's coming up in a couple of months, their Funk Fest, which I'm sure we'll cover. I've covered at some point. But they use that term. I think maybe it's a brewing term which kind of catches a few extra strands than just saying it's a bit funky. Yeah, but this is the one. This is the other one I didn't have. So there's a Liverpool brewer. Black Lodge. Definitely don't get much
from, actually.
Definitely don't get much of this around.
So this is a very orange, very deep orange colour, actually. It's not murky, but it's certainly not see-through.
It's cloudy, isn't it? So it's a citra hop.
It's a solid colour. So this has mixed fermentation farmhouse. It's got apricot, peach, and mango in it. It smells like a sour.
Yeah, it doesn't give you what you'd expect. You don't get as much of the fruit, do you? As in like the kind of rounded fruit smell. It smells fruity, but in a kind of like a funky way. It
does smell funky. Funky is a good description for the smell.
Not overly though.
It smells beery, but smells fruity as well. It smells a little bit wheaty to me.
It tastes very wheat beery, like that kind of bubblegummy banana-y.
Oh, no, it really does, yeah. Oh, crikey. There's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
That's really hard to distinguish what you've got going on.
Yeah. I think I wish I'd not had the Northern Monk before it. I think maybe that's kind of just...
Yeah. I wonder whether or not, because, I mean, they are actually... They're numbered. The series is numbered. But,
possibly.
But in no other... Like, I wonder if you're meant to drink them in the actual...
What is the number order then?
But that wouldn't make any sense because number 1 is the Buxton 10.5% stout.
It's just saying get it out of the way, guys.
So that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I mean, it need. Would this be? Would it be better if it was about 2.5-3% weaker?
Yeah, I think so. Just for our sake, if anything.
I just think that
on the Wylam,
you've got a lot of flavours in there, but then you also have a real kick that gives you a right old belt. I don't know actually. I
think the second taste is a little lighter. I think the Northern Monk one just kind of influenced it a little bit.
Yeah,
it doesn't really taste 7 point. What is it? 7.5. Bloody hell.
7.5. Tell me what you know about the phrase mixed fermentation.
Very little. I think it's just.
I know littler.
I think when people say I'd probably embarrass myself trying to guess, but I think it's to do with like mixing yeast. Like maybe it's quite a wild yeasty kind of thing. So you're making things interact, have some sort of reaction, which kind of creates some sort of funkiness. I'm sure. I'm sure Jim or Laura would be able to tell
this is the kind of beer that we could probably do.
Shall I ring her up?
Drinking on the main Hopcast where we've got people that really understand beer, because it tastes a little bit mental, like a bit like they've just sort of thought, fuck it, let's just stick loads of stuff in this and see what happens. So I wonder whether or not the idea of mixed fermentation kind of works quite well with that, where you're going for this idea of it just being a little bit crazy. Like there's no settled kind of distinguishable style, which is weird actually, coming off the back of the Northern Monk, which is a very established style that we just had.
Yeah.
And a good example of it. But then going into this is very hard to try and figure out what it's supposed to be trying to do.
I just had a quick look, and it kind of is that. It's any fermentation that consists of a combination of brewer's yeast, wild yeast, lactic acid bacteria, and basically chucking a lot of stuff, different things together. So it's rather than just using one technique to maybe sour or something, it's using different ones together. So maybe different combinations of these things create different flavour profiles. That's what I've got to assume, haven't you, really?
The more I drink of it, it really reminds me of something. I can't think what it is.
When I first tasted
it, a very orangey beer.
When I first tasted it, and I mentioned it on last month's podcast, it's that really banana-y kind of Versa kind of taste, but more than that, because it's got that fruity background, which I didn't get that first sip, but I do now. It's almost like you're right. It's probably like having a quite a strong, proper traditionally wheat beer, but having like I'm not going to like blue. I'm not going to say Blue Moon because Blue Moon served with orange.
No,
you know what I mean?
It's a good call that.
But much better than that. Like much more complex than that.
I'm quite enjoying it.
I'm enjoying it. It's not. It's still something. If I were if someone said, "Do you want a couple of cans of these? Which one you want?" I wouldn't pick it out because it's just for the pure. It's not my go-to style.
No, I agree.
But that's the only reason. There's nothing wrong with it at all. It's actually a very bloody good beer, and I'd love to try some of their beers because I've not tried it. As far as I know, I've tried any of their beers.
Black Lodge. Did we figure out where they were from?
I think they are from Liverpool. I did a little bit. I think they have a couple.
I'm in Liverpool in September, so I might try and look at some of their stuff. I realised as well that I did say that we got two big news stories to talk about, and then we talked about one for a long time.
That's right.
The other being, and it's kind of old news, but I think the idea of the Half Pint is that we get a little bit more into chatting about stuff that's happening, so it's a good opportunity to do it. And that is the news about Beavertown.
Yeah.
So anyone that doesn't know, and I think in beer circles you'd have to be living under a stone to have not kind of heard about this yet, is Heineken investing in Beavertown. We know that they're a minority shareholder now.
But that could be anything up to 49%.
We have no idea what that means. The rumour kind of for the last couple of months has been that they were either going to buy them out completely or kind of like take a controlling interest in them. So there's maybe a slight surprise by the fact that it's a minority share. Exactly what it means, I mean, we could debate for ages, and I'm sure most people listening to this have probably already kind of got their thoughts about it. So it kind of cuts the chase of it really, which is good thing, bad thing. Would it make any difference to your approach to Beavertown beers?
It's tricky, really. I mean, on social media, there's been quite an unusual hard split. I think where people have genuinely just done that. And I think I've even said these people being is a bit babyish just to. And I'm a equity for Punk. I'm a Brewdog shareholder, and when James put a tweet out, Brewdog James put a tweet out saying we're never stocking their beers again. We're not going to their extravaganza. I just said I'm one of your shareholders. I think you're embarrassing, and they've done it before. They did it with Lagunitas and like Camden as well, and it's like, I mean, this is diverting a little bit, but like I know that they've not got big investors invested like that, but they have got big investors. Someone put £100 million into them a few months ago, which is the point where they had to actually ask for shareholders for some shares back. That suited me because I've made my investment back on what they wanted to sell back to them. Yeah, and I've still got potential value of a couple of £1,000, and I've put a couple £100 in. You know what I mean? But it's fine. But don't be this person who kind of just starts getting all on your bloody high horse about it when you're literally the least crafty people. I mean, it's not even like Beavertown have kind of gone, we're super independent, we're super like craft to the core, and then sell out. As far as I'm aware, they are by just because they are. But they never kind of sort of screamed that they're this kind of big craft kind of independent company. No, and to be honest, it's business. Why does beer make a difference? If someone wants to chuck a lot of money at you, like to develop, and you need that impact, and you've got someone who does have, Heineken, obviously know what they're bloody doing because they wouldn't be in that position. Whether they're as long as Beavertown have got some sort of creative control over things. And obviously Heineken are going to want to make some money out of it because otherwise why would they put some money in? Then I'm kind of to see what happens. I'll make a decision on it later down the line, I think. But I have kind of been against these no drinking Beavertown ever again. Right, okay, grow up.
I tell you, it's actually been a really interesting debate, I think, in terms of social media and people generally debating it. There has been a bit of quarrelling about it, which is daft, really. I come from the point of view of if this happened to every brewery in the industry, then we might have an issue. For one or two breweries, I kind of see it as a good thing because from time to time we all have to go into
A ship
pub, that we don't really want to go into, and we go into it on the assumption that there's not going to be anything that we like in that pub.
Yeah.
Now, Brewdog are a good example of a brewery that have got into the vast majority of these places, even not necessarily on tap, but even a bad pub.
Yeah.
You look behind the bar, chances are Punk IPA they'll probably have in
And
bottles.
chain restaurants.
Yeah. 2 or 3 breweries that kind of go down this route of getting decent beer into places that have traditionally stocked shit cannot be a bad thing. If it happened across the whole industry, then there's a bit of a problem. But yeah, I don't blame them at all. You know, if someone comes along and says, "I'd like to invest this in your business," I will still let you have the controlling share. You can still pick the future direction of it. Why would you not say no to the? Of course you would. Of course you'd take up that offer up.
They've obviously thought about it. I mean, like, is it Logan? Isn't he like the son of bloody Robert Plant?
I don't know. I
think he is. It's essentially.
I know there's a connection between Beavertown and Brewdog, and I don't know where that connection comes in. But I don't know a lot about the background of the.
I think
company.
I think it's Logan. I think it's Robert Plant's son.
Right.
But I don't think he's. I don't. From what I gather, it's not something that's he's bankrolled or anything. I mean, he probably had a little bit.
Okay, so let's go back to a month and a bit ago when we were at Thornbridge.
Yeah.
Thornbridge started because there was a guy that wanted to drink better beer.
Yep.
And couldn't find it, so I thought I'll just employ some people to start brewing it for me. Thornbridge have been a really good example of a company that could very easily have just sold out.
Yep.
They could have sold up many times.
Absolutely.
And they were one of the first to get all the supply chains and everything in place. Almost positioning themselves, you know, not now, but 2-3 years ago, you think, they're positioning themselves just to look to sell up.
Yeah.
And as time's gone on, you've realised they're not really interested in selling up.
Yeah.
I imagine he's still every night getting a Thornbridge beer out of his fridge, cracking it open and thinking, I'm glad I did this. Yeah, well done me.
Yeah.
And it's now to the point whereby I would see it more likely the other way around. Thornbridge are more likely to be looking at breweries abroad, thinking we want to spread across Europe more fastly, more quickly than we are now, and looking to start snapping up other places than the other way around now. So yeah, I mean, you know, we find ourselves in a really interesting position, don't we? In kind of like the particularly the craft beer market now.
Yeah,
it's a really interesting time, and I think people's reactions to what's happened with Beavertown have been interesting. It will not be the last brewery that we kind of come to know and love, and I say that I don't think Beavertown's a brewery that I've ever particularly felt anything special for, and maybe that's why I've a slightly lesser opinion on it. If it happened to Verdant tomorrow, then I might have something to say about it. If it happened to Magic Rock, I'd have something more to say about it.
I think it's all relative. I think because if I look back at my like untapped stuff, and I remember first drinking Gamma Ray, it was old brand. It was before they did all the cans. It was in the bottles. I remember getting it, not really knowing anything about it, probably from Dram Shop or something, and thinking that was literally the best thing I've ever tasted. And I'll give it a 5 on Untapped. Untapped's annoying because it remembers whatever you first checked in it, and if you ever check it in again, it just tries to do that. It doesn't. If you nudge it down, it doesn't.
Yeah.
And I give it 5 out of 5, and no one gives 5 out of 5. And I drink it now, and sometimes I don't enjoy it, and it's the same as Punk IPA. Like, I don't know whether they have just stretched themselves a bit too thin in terms of demand, and they've had to cut corners in some way. It's just to supply the demand for it, because you can get everyone. Like, I've got people who work on ale fans, and they go, "Oh, my favourite beer. Cameron's really great," and you're like, you're not. As far as I'm aware, you're not an ale or a craft beer drinker.
Yeah.
But it's because it's so widely available, and all that is it's just going to continue. But I did going back to the thing about the Thornbridge thing in Europe, is when it was only about a year ago they were still doing all their beers in 500ml bottles.
Yeah.
They were saying we're going to go to 330, and I was like, what? And I personally kind of at the time I'm thinking, well, I'll genuinely never buy your bottles ever again, because not for that reason at all, and it's because it's so widely available to me in pubs, and there's other beers available, that it just didn't seem there was no pull for me to buy a small bottle of something I can get all the time.
Yeah.
Like I would never buy
Yeah.
It's like when it blows my mind that people buy a bottle of Beck's in a pub when you could get a pint of or anything generic. But I remember I was in the Bath Hotel, I think it was during Beer Week, and I can't remember the guy's name, worked for Thornbridge, and I was with my boss and he knows him. And they were saying the reason they've done it is because the export market literally just will not take 500ml bottles because it's not. It doesn't make sense to their market, and because their export market was growing so big, it was either you're not going to sell them to your export market or you change, and then you start thinking about it logically, thinking, well, I'm only thinking 500ml bottles in Thornbridge is good because that's what I'm used to, but if someone had never drunk it before and they were getting 330ml bottles, everybody else gets all other beers in 330ml bottles or cans. So why is it different? It's just that we're spoilt by very, very good brewery, serving very, very good beer at a very good price in 500ml bottles. And if they've got to basically meet demand in Europe by going to 330ml, well, like I say again, it's a business. This guy maybe was doing this for fun to begin with, had a bit of money to play with, but essentially he wouldn't be building a massive brewery and his massive empire if he weren't trying to make some money. Yeah. So why is it different for any other walk of life, any other type of business to just kind of go, oh yeah, they can do what they want to make money, but apparently craft brewers, if they want to put any input into their biz, no, we can't do that. But that's my kind of thought on it. I think quite strongly, but we'll see what happens. It will come out in the wash if Beavertown have sold out, then they're sold out, and you kind of go, okay, don't drink them again. I mean, the very last point I'll put on this, I know we kind of dragged it on, but I was a bit mad about some of the brewers that pulled out of their extravaganza things. It seemed a bit childish, but I did see a Cloudwater post, and it was highlighting a lot of maybe moral, ethical things that issues that Heineken have been involved with in the past, right. And it was an extensive list, and I felt like I didn't need to click on any of the hyperlinks. It was just like, okay, you've got an issue with them, cool. And obviously they had to put it in the public because people were probably going to this event because they were wanting to drink Cloudwater beer, and they said they're going to put another event on in London, and anybody's got tickets for the extravaganza thing, they'll be able to come for free.
Which is nice.
Which is cool, and they've had to explain themselves, but I'll put my hands up, I did kind of think, bit childish guys, but if they're knowledgeable about all this stuff, and I'll trust their judgment on it, and I'll just move on, I suppose, from that.
I think we are on to the second to last beer now. Penultimate, yes.
Still say it.
So this is, I don't know whether I don't think I've tried this.
I had this after you'd gone
the other night. So this is the Box Social Collab. It's a double IPA. It is 8.5%. So we are into the seriously strong stuff now.
I'm worried that these are the Liverpool ones now. Damn it! Where's it from?
Box Social. Does it say on the can? I'm looking it up. It just says it's canned in Newcastle, so I'm not sure. So it was Black Lodge and Box Social, the two that we're not really sure about.
No, these are in Newcastle. You asshole man. These are local lads.
Newcastle?
Or girls, I'm going to tell you that. Yeah, I think you found a sweet spot where half a can is, haven't you? I've noticed you've been very using your very well designed geometric can to work out where.
It's all credit to the Magic Rock glass that allows you to do that quite well. So 8.5%. It's a double IPA. It's got a bit of a New England look going on.
I can smell that from.
Oh crikey! So this is
miles
double IPA with Citra Cryo. Can't say that now. Yeah. Citra Cryo, Amarillo Cryo. Is it pronounced as Brew One or BRU One? I'm not sure. And Galaxy.
So again, all the good stuff.
Gorgeous smell.
Yeah, I can smell it. It's on the table. It's about 1.5 foot where I can smell it from here.
Wow.
It's going in.
Yeah, that's just ticked every box.
It's a little bit bitter again, though. I think.
Oh, yeah, I think that adds something to it though.
It's a better bitterness. It's an earlier bitterness.
Oh, it's very balanced. That bitterness is really supporting
it's
that.
quite lip smackingly bitter. Yeah.
But I think one of the things that you can sort of accuse some of the modern beers of is going for just too sweet a taste.
Yeah, it's cloying and it's
which is daft because sort of the thing about like New England beers is that they're so packed with hops that they should be naturally dead bitter really.
Yeah. I did fall foul of that a few months ago, and I've been drinking Bar Stewards, and Charlie and Ali were the proprietors of their place, and I'm not sure if they were working or taking advantage of having their own bar and having a few drinks.
Which would, yeah.
And I was with Matt at Gluten Free Pint, and I think we ended up in Broome Hill, and then bumped into them again in the York, and they were like, "Hey!" And they'd been there trying some double IPA, which North Brewing had done, called
Right.
Dynamo, which I think I tasted just before we did the White Lion one, which is really good actually. And then they were like, "Oh, we're going to go around the corner to Itchy Pig." It's waiting there, another band. And they're like, "We're going to get a taxi back to Bar Steward. Do you want to come with us?" And I'm like, "Yep." And then we did that, and then they.
So we went from Bar Stewards round half
Well-
Sheffield and back to Bar
Well,
Stewards.
we went to Bar Stewards, then did a few pubs, and ended up in Broome Hill, and then just happened to bump into them, and then we kind of.
What time did you start for this to all happen?
We must have been in Bar Stewards from about 5:30 to 6, maybe something like that.
Right,
Then
okay.
maybe bumped into them about 8:30.
Right.
I remember getting back to Bar Stewards, and then them cracking. It was a Verdant beer, and it was one of the. Yeah, your strong ones.
Go on, describe the label to me. I'll probably recognise it.
Yellow.
Would it be the Neil one?
Could it be?
There's I think Pulp is a
It's not
yellow.
Pulp. No,
label
Pulp's
as well.
the.
It's the I can't remember. Is it called Things That Neil Does or something like that? Or
Could have been.
Neil Does Things or something.
Anyway, they cracked it open and they just gave me a taste, and I think I'd gone through that much beer, and it was so sweet and cloying that it literally made me feel sick as soon as I tasted it.
Okay.
And I think you get that. This is the opposite of that, I think, where they're the really sickly sweet ones at about 8 or 9%, and it just that swallow was like, oh, you're stronger than me this time of night, because that is not what I need. I need something clear and clean and kind of not sickly sweet like that.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Get them in early if you're going to do it.
So what's your thoughts on this in terms of?
I like it. I think it was
the balance.
probably my favourite one. I think of the that again, if you're going to kind of compare it, if you're going to drink the Wylam Cannonball Run, probably go.
Okay.
So far, I'd probably go Hawk's Head, Northern Monk, Box Social as the kind of similar style.
Yeah.
You'll be able to just basically you're up in a couple of percent, maybe 1% or something at a time. If you wanted something different, I'm enjoying them much more than I did other night when we did it at the. And it was more. I kind of felt a little bit disappointed on that night, if I'm honest. But I think the cans have redeemed them a little bit.
I think to be fair, I don't think there's been a bad one. I think probably. I mean, we've still got one to go after this, but I think that's so much different to everything else.
I know what
it's
that
probably not
tastes
comparable. Probably the most disappointing. I don't know. Probably the Cloudwater.
Yeah, I think again it's all down to expectation. I think on the whole, the entire series it kind of felt like I've had to wind myself in on Wylam stuff, and I've never really had much Wylam stuff until someone had to start asking me what my favourite beer of the month was, and that dates back to I like to move it, and I'm like, oh, who made that beer? Oh, that's them. And before that, and then the months going on, I'm thinking I can't have another Wylam beer, otherwise I'm just going to like chuffing ridiculous Wylam fanboy, which again I am just by the fact that their beers are so good. But I'm not going around kind of searching them out when I get them.
Is that the same? The Moob thing is being re-released, isn't it?
Yeah,
There's
is
a
it
new-
double
new
one or
version
something?
of that,
Because that's with Northern Monk, isn't it?
Probably more or less out now, actually.
That's what they bloody offered him for a free one for that.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah, complain about the Northern Monk one, get a free one. It'll be too late by then.
I'll let you know how I get on.
I don't know, how do you think that sits with the Northern Monk one? Because it's comparable. Yeah. Completely comparable.
All very good. Do you know, I reckon, probably 2-3 episodes ago, we, against all odds, picked a 2.9% beer as our
Cloudwater
winner, the Cloudwater one.
Yeah.
Of the 3 kind of hazy beers that we've had tonight, I would genuinely pick the Hawkshead one as my favourite.
Oh, right, okay.
Because of the fact that it's not as strong as the others, but I think it carries its flavour just as well.
I could be twisted to say the same, like, genuinely. I think there's not much between, it's definitely between those two. I think, like I said, it's all due to expectation again, where I think I was a little bit disappointed with the overall, thinking I would expect a little bit more from each of the beers, but having them again, I think, really strong. I think maybe you can get better Northern Monk ones. Wylam and Northern Monk one, you expect what the Wylam Northern Monk one to be an absolute banger for that style sort of thing, and it's great. It's great, but you could independently get better ones. This is really good because I've never even drunk any of their beers before. Makes you wonder how Wylam-y that one is. I don't know. I literally don't know anything about Box Social, to be fair. But yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe the Hawkshead one is.
It's just purely on the basis that, what is it, 5%?
Yeah, it's bang on 5%. Yeah.
And I think it's as tasty. It's a shame we can't we should have maybe saved a little bit of some beers to go back to, shouldn't it?
I've noticed a typo on the can though. I have noticed a typo on the can though.
Go on then. What is it?
Spelled Hawkshead wrong on that bit.
Oh, right.
Got an X-ray in it. Because that's the logo there.
Hawkshead.
Yeah.
Excellent.
There we go, sorry.
Well spotted.
That's my designer in me.
Yeah, just purely if it can carry its taste across and do it at a lower ABV.
You would naturally just have it, wouldn't you? Because why would you want to be in a ditch after two fights? But again, going back to the smalls, I think depending on what situation you're in, I suppose, and where you're drinking things, if you're taking a can, you're probably taking it home. And then it's a case of having a bit of longevity of a night to get through things, but you're willing to pay that little bit of premium. But if you want to wind that premium in, to look at the flavour for it, not have a massive hangover in the morning, and you can still get that flavour profile. The 5% is a nice point to go in.
Maybe a slightly different way of looking at it is, and I think the answer would be the same actually, if you could pick any of the beers that we've had tonight to become like a permanent core range beer that's always available, which would it be? Because I'd still go Hawkshead.
I think I would actually. Yeah, I think I genuinely would.
And it would actually become a serious kind of go-to beer for me.
Yeah, it's really like easy drinking. It's refreshing. It's got all the flavour. It's got a bit more than you kind of like said. Your really low strength ones in that thing. And if I'd love to go back and think that you could get a pint of that, but not for £8.
Maybe £7.50.
Keep going.
Keep going. Maybe £4.50.
£4.50. Yeah, there you go. I'll pay £4.50 for a pint.
But maybe they genuinely can't produce it with that flavour at that price.
Yeah,
because there's not a lot of people doing it. Are there? You know, Cloudwater are doing it on keg with the smalls, but there's not a lot of people that are actually producing those beers to be sold on keg.
But at £35 for a case of cans, that's coming in at £4.50. So it's like still
£4.50 for 440 mil.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not far off.
Yeah. So
maybe if it was what.
And then when someone tells you what to get at cost,
it's better off not asking.
Yeah, I know. Someone told me outright.
We have got one more beer to go after this. I'm going to check my list to see where there was anything we desperately needed to talk about. So one of the things we're going to touch on is future kind of beer events that we're going to, that we're looking forward to.
And the future of the podcast for the next few months.
Yeah, but we can. Yeah, I mean the two probably go hand in hand actually, because the bigger, certainly the bigger Sheffield events we're going to. So the next big thing is tramlines, which we've talked about on the main Hopcast already. Yeah. I'm going for the full weekend. Well, I say that with my fingers crossed that my press ticket comes off. Leaving it a little bit late, but yes. So tramlines from a beer point of view is as beery or unbeery as you make it, isn't it? Because you can. Last year I spent most of my time going around pubs in town trying different beers
and not going to any music,
seeing friends, and not really doing
that's what I've done the last few years.
I think quite naturally, kind of being in the main stage area, there's not going to be as much choice from a beer point of view, but obviously you've got some really, really good bands on this time. Yeah,
it feels a bit like the film The Purge, but without killing people, tramlines. Is that where the police kind of just take a step back and you can just sort of do what you want within a certain realm of drinking on the street and stuff, and everyone just kind of...
Are you saying it's alright for me to just kill random people?
No, I'm saying it's like that without the killing bit. It's just kind of when, right, you got a weekend, be good, but if you're drinking on the streets, we're not going to take it off you.
It's really weird, isn't it?
It feels a bit rogue.
So, yeah, and you can even... I think the thing that feels the most naughty is not necessarily drinking on the street. It's the idea that you can go into a bar and buy a beer from there and leave, and then go to a different bar where your mates are and stand with them with a beer from a different pub.
Because no one's checking because there's too many people.
Yeah, but it's also like it's fine. Last year I think that my friends ended up in Green Room, which is not a bad pub. It's all right. Mm-hmm. But there's, and I mentioned this as my one of my favourite beers of last year. Brewdog had got their collaboration beer on, which was like a tropical fruit beer going on. To the point whereby I was, every time a round came in, I went, no, miss me out of this one, and I would walk from the Green Room all the way up to Brewdog to buy a pint of that, to take it all the way back down to Green Room and meet my friends.
It's one of the Alvarez Kings. That was the band.
It was. I can't remember what it was called, but it was brilliant.
It was a kind of lychee thing, wasn't it?
It was kind of mango lychee passion fruit.
4.5%, ridiculously drinkable.
Excellent beer. So yeah, I'm looking forward to tramlines. What else have I got? So literally, the tramlines finishes on Sunday.
Yeah.
Monday morning, I fly to Berlin, and it's Berlin Beer Week.
God, he's always in bloody Germany, isn't it?
I do love Germany. The great thing about Germany at the moment is that craft beer in Germany, as in a lot of places in Europe, is kind of in its infancy, or maybe not quite infancy now. It's sort of past that point, but it's probably 5 years behind where the UK is.
Yeah.
So it's kind of quite enjoyable to go back every 6 months and just see what's changed. Last time I went to Berlin, there were a couple of really good kind of breweries that had opened their own tap bars and stuff. And it was interesting to be there. Berlin Beer Week is, I think it's the second year that they've done it, which is literally like a celebration of German breweries and probably a few from elsewhere in Europe who are doing craft beer, which technically is still illegal in Germany.
Because of the purity laws.
Because of their daft laws. So I'm surprised they're actually allowed to call it Berlin Beer Week and not Berlin Alternative Alcohol Drink Week or something like that. So that should be quite good. Tell you, I'm actually quite looking forward to Pride, because the last couple of years Thornbridge have done the bar in Endcliffe Park. What I also quite like about it is you can literally just turn up with anything that you want in a bag or anything. Take whatever beers you want.
No bombs.
And I wasn't going to go down that route, but thanks for that. So you buy 6-7 really good beers in advance.
So do they
just take them, sit in the park.
Do they have a bar down there then?
They do have a bar. It's really strange. So the bar is kind of fenced off. Right. If you go in the bar area and buy a beer, you're not allowed to take it out of the bar area.
It's a bit like...
But you can go to the shop, buy whatever you want and take it and sit in the main bit of the park. The last probably 3 years, the weather has been absolutely amazing for Pride weekend. So Fingers crossed, it's another really nice day. You can just take some really good beers along with you. It's not far away from Wine Rack. It's not far away from
beer ale house brew.
Yeah,
what's it called? I can never beer house.
Ecclesall Ale Club. It's not far away from the beer house. So there's plenty of good places to get a good beer from.
Greystones
to that, and then Peakender.
Peakender, yeah, which is
in August.
Yeah, which is
going to be absolutely amazing.
Should be, yeah. I'm really excited. I've not got much beer plans in sort of immediate future, really. I mean, I can only kind of go as far as Peakender. I went to Peakender last year just for the Sunday. Drove, didn't have to. Well, I didn't drive myself by bags of drinking duties. Amazing how that. It was a much smaller kind of setup than I expected. Beer tent. It's not really like a tent. It's probably only about 3 or 4 meters deep before you're back out of the tent. So you're kind of not really sitting in a tent. But the amount of beer they've got on and the amount of beer that just changes as soon as a beer goes out. There's a big chalkboard that's wiped off, and there's someone re-kegged something, and you've got another beer straight on again. It was incredible, really. Just how organised it were, and I can imagine that's only getting stronger every year. So I think we are camping this year with, and then.
Are you doing like a full family thing then for?
Well, I'm not going to go on the Friday night. Got a few swimming. Well, I think my wife's doing there's a run on that morning, like a big inflatable run at Rother Valley. Okay. She's supposed to be doing a charity thing, swimming lessons. So I think what we're doing is I've got my brothers-in-laws are coming up from Suffolk. Convince them to buy a ticket between them. We're going, so we'll camp Saturday night. So basically Saturday's going to be the drinking day, because obviously someone's going to have to drive back on a Sunday. But if you do stick it out to the end, cheap beer, they last for a couple of hours. They'll literally.
Yeah, I've heard this from a couple of people.
They'll be literally like
they
casks
just sell everything off.
I think what they tend to do is they can nip the keg stuff off but the cask stuff's pretty much once it's on. So they will sell it for £1 a pint. So you might be down to things that you're not that bothered about, but if you're thinking of getting a bargain, buy a Wild Swan or something for £1. Bang on. I think anything else is coming up really. Don't know really. I think that's kind of it for festival
it's
stuff.
Sort of linked into, we talked about the kind of future episodes of the Hopcast where we will be doing an episode at the Greystones, which will be the one just before Peakender. So we're doing it at Thornbridge Pub, just to kind of link in with Peakender, kind of the last minute sort of the lineup, what beers are going to be on, what kind of special collabs are going to be launched, that sort of time. Plus the Greystones is a great pub, and we've not really done much kind of across this side of town, which is my sort of side of town, so looking forward to that.
It was the actual flagship Thornbridge pub as well. It was the original Thornbridge pub.
I mean, there's a really interesting story there as well, because
it's Midland.
I can't remember what it was called before.
Highcliffe.
It was the Highcliffe, and it was before I'd lived in S11, so I can't really comment on it, but I've had quite a few people tell me that it was absolutely complete shit tip, rough as fuck.
It's not like a rough area. They don't feel like a rough area.
No, not in the slightest. And yet people that would have given it a very wide berth are now like regular customers. Like what Thornbridge have done and managed to turn it into is quite astounding, really. Yeah,
considering how far out it is, like I've probably been less than 10 times ever. It's just because it's so out of the way. And once they started opening the pubs, it's like obviously it's quite close to being to get to Hallamshire, and it's easy to get to like Bath Hotel and.
I think Hallamshire's the one that's probably closest to it in terms of sort of size and range and stuff like that.
But they do.
But it is unique. I think the Greystones, the atmosphere in there is great.
Well, they do a lot of gig nights. We've actually struggled to get. The way that we've found the last few months of recording is like there was a toss up between getting a little bit of atmosphere noise and actually just ruining your podcast. Having a venue which is good at beer, willing to take us on, I've got something good to talk about, and having somewhere that is out of the way, and they have their back room, which is what they use for virtually a gig nearly every day.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
And we had to book that like months in advance. I said book it, which is an unfair phrase because we're not bringing anything in terms of like the ticket sales that a band bring in. So absolute full credit to the guys there for letting us kind of go there and take up that entire. It's a big back room as well, and they're letting us take up that whole thing just to record a podcast. So big thank you to them for that. Yeah. And then the next thing after that, which will be October, and you won't be here for this, you'll miss all of this, is the Steel City Beer Festival, which I'm not even sure what it's called anymore, because it certainly used to be Steel City Beer Festival. Is it now Sheffield Beer Festival again?
It's the big camera one, which...
It's got cider in the title somewhere as well.
It's the camera room one. It's the one that is actually good now, and for a few years was a bit ropey.
Yeah, I think did we both go to it when it was at Ponce Forge, and it was...
I went 2 years at Ponce Forge. Terrible venue. Not very well run up.
I think I nearly passed out on the night.
Yeah, nowhere to go outside. Very bad decisions on how it were kind of ticketed and stuff, and then before that it was at the cemetery. It was at the kind of more near here really, the part near the cemetery.
Yeah.
And I went. That was the first year I went, and it was very, very wet. Good festival, but much small scale. But
it certainly found its home now, hasn't it?
But in terms of what Sean said might be in the pilot episode, which was about this like venue of the year, it was them moving the festival to Kellam Island Museum, and it's an unusual thing to kind of explain what it's like. In sense it kind of feels like you've gone back in time a bit. It's very oldie worldy. It's like, and the way that they utilise the space is absolutely fantastic.
It's a really unusual venue, like to the point whereby you sort of feel like at points you're sort of climbing up ladders to get into the next room or stuff like that.
Or
it's
like a little cobbled street.
Nothing matches.
No.
It's not logical, or like the outside bit, the downstairs outside bit is completely different to the upstairs inside bit, which is different to the keg bar, which is different, and I'm sure it'll evolve a little bit more this year.
Well, you didn't realise about the actual venue that you're actually recording, which is part of it, which I don't know if you want to go into that now or...
Well, I mean, I think we'll probably touch on it because the reason we mention this is that the October episode of the Hopcast we're doing in so it's called the Mill Owners Arms, which is...
it's on site,
technically, it is a pub which is part of the Kellam Island Museum complex. It's not a pub in terms of the fact that it's not a place where you can just turn up and have a pint.
No, it's not a trading pub, is it?
It's like
it's a venue, really.
You hire it out. It's for events, so it's generally hired for, say, like a wedding reception or for a party or whatever. But it is genuinely kitted out as to be a pub, to kind of tell the story of pubs in Sheffield. So it's got kind of like a museum element to it. So that's where we're recording in October. We're going to have Paul, who's the guy that's the organiser of the beer festival, is going to be with us as well. So it'll be really interesting. We'll hear a lot about the Miller's Arms and what that is all about. We'll hear a lot about the event. Most importantly, we'll hear about what beers we've got coming up and how it's changed and evolved since last year. I'm looking forward to it. Kind of good that you're not going to be there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested to maybe hear about their stance on some of the, they're a camera branch, but they are quite a progressive camera branch.
Yeah.
And maybe they might have, I don't know whether official comments or unofficial comments on their thoughts of some of the decisions that were made a few months ago in terms of their stance on, beer essentially. We'll go into it, but...
I think there's a lot being said about it, and we've probably steered away from it. Maybe on the basis of the fact that I think that the Sheffield branch is considered one of the more forward-thinking.
Yeah, we're quite a cask-centric.
It's a bit unfair of us to kind of slag off the entirety of camera when actually, I mean,
they could have voted for against it.
The Steel City Beer Festival has a keg bar which was
bloody good.
Last year was bigger than the year before. I assume this year will be bigger still.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like there's a huge anti-keg movement in Sheffield.
I couldn't tell you what was on, but I remember thinking at the time that they didn't kind of do it half-heartedly. It wasn't like, we'll just put some, they put Bradfield Blonde on that they do on keg. It was like there was some strong stuff on there. There was some interesting stuff. There was some really unusual styles. So like they'd actually thought about it a bit, and maybe they got some members who aren't kind of so stuck in their ways. Maybe. So
maybe.
I'm still finishing my number.
Yeah, I've moved on now to the final beer, which is the Buxton collab. This is the 10.5% chocolate chip vanilla imperial stout. Imperial is a word that's more difficult to say when you've had a few beers.
Yeah.
Imperial.
Double.
Triple. So yeah, 10.5%. You picked out a Buxton stout as your like literally the beer that you think best represents the country.
It wasn't that. It was. It's one of the. I think Buxton have always been this kind of like slightly understated but stupidly well respected brewery.
Yeah.
And I think actually their head brewer moved to Northern Monk in the last few years, so maybe that's testament to, you know what I mean. But they're still putting out these great beers. They've still got a ridiculously good core range, and for someone that's out in the middle of nowhere, the Peaks, they're not some traditional Peaks brewery. They're putting out. I mean, I'll mention Steve at a Beer O'Clock show again, who really he absolutely loves the beer I put in, which is the Battle Horse, which is a double black IPA, and it was exactly the same strength of this, 10.5%. And then their Axe Edge, which is their 6.8% IPA, which is again in the old, say old, but the original kind of style that we sort of imitated from the US. And it's still an absolute banging beer. And some of their sours, Trolltunga is one of my favourite beers. I don't know if you've had Trolltunga, but if you've not, go and find it, James.
Yeah, it's a good one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like really face mellowingly sort of tart. But all because the Omnipolo series that they do, which is all the ice cream pale stuff, like they're stupidly progressive for stuck in some little kind of sleepy spa town in the middle of Peaks. And
the Omnipolo stuff is stupidly expensive. And I know, we're accustomed to drinking really expensive stuff, but you're talking like, £8-9 a bottle stuff there.
Yeah, but yeah. It's I think I said it in the initial podcast, which I think I went there last year. So in the last year beer, I've been doing the soft serve version of the lemon meringue pale on the normal version of the thing, and just incredible. I'm hoping to go back in the next month as a birthday present for my wife. We're going to go and stay over there and just basically drink in there. Maybe go to the brewery, because the brewery's not where the tap room is. The tap room's in Buxton. I think the actual brewery's they do have a tap room there, but I think it's not open all the time. So babysitter's in. Late birthday present.
This is, by the way, another Williamette beer.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, well, it must be good for dark beers then, because that's the 2 dark beers I've had a Williamette.
Maybe it's just like a Newcastle thing. The sort of
Williamette man
hop that's only available there.
Well, that doesn't taste 10.5 either, does it?
No, I actually think it's very, very nice.
It's really
and I can that sort of chocolate chip. Where you sort of generally now you'd eat a chocolate chip in a sort of a cookie format, vanilla which you'd eat in an ice cream format. I get both those flavours.
Yeah.
It achieves what it wants to achieve, which must be bloody hard doing a 10.5% beer to actually try and carry flavour across that isn't just pure booze.
It's a little bit like when you get one of those blocks of chocolate, which is like sort of 70%, 90% like cocoa, and it's that really, really dark chocolate. And you can have a little bite, but it's mainly kind of a cooking chocolate. I've always loved dark chocolate. I think, the other additions it says on the can is dried figs, organic cocoa nibs, dried cranberries, honey, black flame, and golden raisin. What's black flame? Golden raisins and vanilla. So, yeah, you get a nice, very, very rounded flavour from this. It's actually dangerous.
Tell you what, it's an astoundingly good beer. It is absolutely fantastic in terms of the depth of that flavour is so good.
We're hoping to get this from my England beer, but you don't get the hops, do you?
No, this is what you should have entered. This is what you should have won. Yeah, I don't know. You tried. You shared a half of this.
Yeah, I've
didn't
had
you?
this. Yeah.
What do you think of it?
No,
at the
I really,
time?
really liked it. Yeah, I finished on it. Finished on it there. But yeah, really liked it. It's a lot of respect for Buxton. Big fan. I don't know what to say really. It's massively different to all of the beers. It's basically the Cloudwater one times 10, isn't it? In terms of
easily.
I think it's everything you want from what the description is, whereas some of the other ones might have slightly undercut. And it just doesn't taste 10.5%. There's no burn whatsoever. There's no. You could drink that and someone said, "Oh, that's 6%," and you'd be going, "Yeah," you wouldn't go. You sure, mate?
There's got to be a reason they do it at 10.5. Like,
I think it's that round. It's that really kind of complex roundness.
I think
to it.
all those extra ingredients that you mentioned, like the ABV, is what sort of brings all those sort of together.
Yeah.
And it keeps those initial flavours of chocolate, vanilla, which still override the whole thing, and everything else that just sort of creates this sort of underbody to the whole thing.
Yeah, it's really it's ridiculous. It's probably the most balanced beer out of the lot, probably.
Yeah.
There's nothing in it that I feel that, like I said, some of the they kind of really the kind of pale or the IPAs. It's something that it's quite bitter on the finish. This just there's nothing in any of it. Nothing in the front, middle, or the finish that feels unbalanced or out of place. Again, it's a sipper. It's a sipper. It's a sipper because you know how strong it is, but not for any other reason. Like
if we'd have done it in
pint.
actual series order, so we'd have started on this. I think that would probably ruin the entire.
Yeah, maybe it's like the other ones are the kids who shout louder and will get what they want, and this one's kind of just the intelligent one who sits quietly and just in the background. There, not to insult anybody, but
so we'd kind of resolved that out of the ones before this that we'd had, Hawkshead was probably our favourite.
Yeah, before this.
Where are you at now?
Again, they're quite incomparable, aren't they? Really.
Well, they are, but you know,
it's down to it's like the World Cup thing, isn't it? It's like better beer. That's I don't know. Is it in your top two? Is it in your top two, or would you say it's still in that? I know my top three. I can say my top three. I could
go on. Tell us your top three.
Box Social, Hawkshead, and this one. I think. Yeah. I just think it's very difficult to be able to. I think it's time and place, frame of mind, all that stuff. I think winter. This had. Can you imagine something like in front of a nice fire or something with that? It just.
See, I don't think it
doesn't need to be that, but just.
I think it's got quite a summery sort of.
Maybe it does actually. Maybe the fruit.
Springy feel to it as well.
Maybe it does actually. Yeah.
It doesn't feel that heavy.
It's not heavy now.
In the slightest. I don't think it's a wintry beer. I think I would naturally sort of assume that it is because it's 10.5% and it's.
Yeah, maybe I jumped to conclusions on that. Maybe you're right, actually. I think you're right.
My top three would be this one, the Hawk's Head. I'd probably still stick with the Magic Rock.
Okay.
As being my other favourite because I think that was just a really good fruit sour. And if I had to pick between these two. Do you know what? I think I'd probably pick this. And that I didn't expect to say that at all.
Stouts, the dark ones, weren't they?
Because this tastes individual, it tastes different. It's got real personality to it. The Hawk's Head is a brilliant example of a style of beer at a lower ABV than a lot of other beers that are good at doing that style right now. But it doesn't necessarily stand out.
No,
it's good. It's a great beer. This for me, out of all of them, is the one that stands out the most as having just something different. And actually, the as it says on the label, the two flavours, chocolate chip and vanilla. Every sip I've had of it, I've got those two flavours.
Yeah.
And enjoyed them. I've not got remotely bored of this.
No. But to be
I'll
honest,
tell you what though, 10.5%, absolutely lethal, because you do not taste 10.5% out of that.
it's weird though,
really
like scanning back through them all and like what we've said about them, like really enjoyed the Thornbridge, really enjoyed the mixed fermentation Black Lodge one.
Yeah.
What's that one? That's the Hawkshead one. Yeah, I think just because I've had much better in them styles, I think the weaker ones actually are the Cloudwater and the Magic Rock for me. And I love. There's nothing wrong with that Magic Rock, and I really like it. I could drink it all day long. I think just I've had much better that are similar to that. That I think that it just. And the other ones are kind of ones where they're a bit different for me. And I don't know. Actually, I'm more surprised at the second tasting of them. I think they were. I don't know. Maybe I was in the wrong frame of mind. Or maybe I was expecting something ridiculous from it, and now I've kind of sat down and just thought about it logically that they're really solid beers. Pretty much all of them.
Go on then, pick a winner.
Oh, let's go for this. Let's do it.
I absolutely
let's go for the Buxton.
I really agree. And I didn't expect that at all. Not for me. I thought maybe you might go for it. On the basis
Not really
much. What you picked.
But yeah, but that was. I knew that was a risk when I did that.
But this is not the kind of thing that I go for, and it's absolutely brilliant. Brilliant.
But yeah, big shout out for the Hawkshead with a spelling mistake on it.
Yep. Maybe just for the fact that it's got a spelling mistake on it, it deserves an extra point for that. But I'm still not sure whether it makes it the
does that mean we can get loads of cheap ones because there's imperfections on it?
That's a good thought to leave it on. So yeah, that's sort of like the end of the first Hopcast Half Pint, which has
Double
been
pint.
Actually about 4 pints or something like that.
The Hopcast Stein.
Yeah, this is genuinely the idea of it is it's going to be like half an hour long, 2 beers, quick chat about stuff, and then home we go. But this being the first one, we thought we'd do something different. And actually, to be fair, it'll be this will be the where we do like the Cannonball Run next year, and we do like those special things will be on the half pint.
Yeah.
Our next sort of proper edition of the Hopcast will be at the start of August. It will be our sort of Peakender edition, which, as we mentioned earlier, we're doing at the Greystones, and it will be. I'll start my new job by then, which is a little bit weird, a little bit scary. So yeah, we'll look forward to Peakender a lot more in that one. But in the meantime, I've enjoyed this.
It's been good.
It has. We've got through 8 beers between us, and we're still capable of conversation.
Yeah, I'm super surprised.
Let's raise our glass. That's been a victory.
Ching ching.
Cheers.